I mean, this is definitely an issue for me and a lot of my girlfriends. I know a lot of people listening. It's kind of this image and perception around what's right, what we should look like, what's ideal, what's perfect. And obviously the magazines portray that, the Kardashians portray that. I mean, it's just all over wherever you look. We should look like this. And I think, excuse me, it's crushing us from a society standpoint. We make really bad decisions in the strive for perfection. So what, as a coach, how do you deal with that?
Well, we're so hard on ourselves.
We are.
I mean, 97% of women will have a negative thought about their bodies every day.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to No Limits with Kristen Andre. We are here today with Martha McGinnis, who is an eating coach. And I'm excited to have you here because I had the opportunity to hear you speak, I guess, a few months ago now.
A couple months.
Yeah, and it was very interesting because this is a big topic for me and a big topic for a lot of people. But it's one that we don't talk about. We complain about a lot, but we don't really talk about how to address it.
People don't go deep into the issues.
Exactly.
They don't want. We stay on the surface.
We just want to stay surface with it. We want to complain and we want to crash diet and then we want to complain that it didn't work.
Yeah, and we want to look for a solution out there. We're thinking there's somebody out there or there that can
I have
tell us
literally
what to do.
purchased, bought, done every potential out there solution. And you're right. It's something deeper, which after these years, I'm starting to figure that out.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. What I've found is that the answer is actually it's not what's on your plate. It's what's in your head. And if you're always thinking about food and trying to control that, and you're not dealing with why you're eating, then you're always going to be in a battle with food and with your body.
And it's true. So I want to get into that because some of the stuff I've learned and heard from you, it's really, it gets you thinking. But tell us your story. So how did you get into this career? Because for those of you guys watching live stream, you can see Martha here. If you're listening to us on iTunes, you're an itty bitty little thing, so when I first heard this, I was like, okay, she's 2 pounds. So I don't really know how I'm going to get this, but that wasn't always your story.
I went on my first diet at 13 and I was actually pretty normal then. But when you're 13, you want to fit in and you think, oh, I'll have a boyfriend and everything will be perfect if I can lose 15 pounds.
Right.
And I got down to 99 pounds and
Goodness
I stayed
gracious.
there for all of 2 weeks. And then life wasn't perfect, and I started
For
to
2
gain the
weeks.
weight. I gained that weight back, and I gained the 15 pounds, and then I gained 60 more. So over time, dieting alternately, compulsively
and you said you're
eating.
5'2", so 60 pounds on a 5'2" frame of a gain is a good
it
bet.
was half again as much as I started out with, so I gained a lot. But it took me a few years. Because I would diet and then I would eat, and then I would diet and I would eat, and I tried everything. I tried Nutrisystem and liquid protein fast, and a 2-week total fast in college. And I found it was.
I was on the
easier.
Jenny Craig kick in college after that freshman. Well, they not encouraged. Most people have the freshman 15.
Yeah.
I'm an overachiever.
Okay.
So I did the freshman 20. And so that was, I think, for me, the start of the yo-yo. I dieted in high school, of course. I think we all do. But you're right. You don't pick up the boyfriend. Life's not suddenly grand when you lose 10 pounds.
It doesn't get perfect, but we kind of think it's going to. And the problem is diets actually kick off the obsessions about food and eating and all that. They destabilize us. They take us out of our body because, you're trying to ignore hunger and you're ignoring what you really want to eat and you're eating stuff you may not even like. And that separates us from ourselves. We go into our heads.
Yes.
And that's a real danger zone because your head was not designed to control your eating. Your body was.
Yeah, and this so how did this become work for you?
I just a few years ago I was thinking, what do I want to do with the last 10 years of my career? And I thought, what do I know that I wish the world knew? And it was real simple. It's how to lose weight without dieting.
Okay.
So, and
I love that. I love that.
That was real easy once I asked myself that question.
Yeah.
So I became certified as an intuitive eating coach.
Okay.
And because I knew that I didn't invent this. I did for myself because this was 35 years ago. I figured it out on my own. But I've lived it that long, and I knew that other people in the meantime had come up with.
And I think, for most of us that have come up dieting and, growing up 70s, 80s, 90s, whatever decade you grew up in, I grew up in all three. It was always just something that was put on. There was no talk about why you eat. It was you eat, then you diet, then you eat, then you die. I don't, other than somebody who was just naturally thin and the weight they were going to be, most of my girlfriends and even a lot of my guy friends were the yo-yoers.
And no one ever taught us how to eat, how to ask yourself when you're hungry and what are you hungry for.
Yep.
And to really learn to honor those things in your body. And the thing is, when people do, they eat less. And we tend to eat healthy too. I've had clients who let go of the rules and restrictions around eating because we have so many these days. And I try to encourage people to let go of them and try to figure out for yourself what it is you really want. And after a few days of eating all the off-limits stuff, they'll decide all of a sudden they want salmon and salad. And their bodies are actually asking for healthier food. Yeah.
Now I tend to I enjoy healthy food. I've yet to figure out how to make kale chips, though. That is, everybody's like, eat the kale, because that's the big thing right now.
Yeah.
I mean, kale has been apparently, if you eat it, you turn into a Brazilian swimsuit model. I don't know, but I've not had that happen. But I try. I don't dislike it. I mean, I like it, but it's just kind of like.
Yeah, well, if
I can take it or leave it, but I don't crave unhealthy food. I tend to gravitate more towards healthy. And I think if I were to pick, I'd be the salad type of person. I do love a good pasta, but I don't eat it often. I mean, maybe once a month.
And that's fine. They say the Mediterranean diet's actually really healthy, and people can stay on that for a long time. And it's not a diet. It's just it's a menu. It's kind of a way of eating.
Okay. So what are the mistakes you're seeing that people are making? When it comes to trying to eat healthy and trying to lose weight?
With around eating healthy, it's mostly just the obsession, because they spend so much time thinking about food,
right?
That it's like a veil that comes down and it separates them from why they're eating. And most people are eating too much.
I think that's my problem.
But we're not conscious of eating too much. It's just that we're not in touch with our bodies.
Right.
We're not asking ourselves if we're hungry or checking in with our bodies in the middle of a meal. We'll eat the whole thing, especially if we're out at a restaurant or something like that. And then the next day we eat the same thing, or we'll start out with breakfast, even though we may still be full from the night before.
Yep.
And if we're doing that on a regular basis, then the pounds are going to add up.
It would have to. Yeah, I'm not a breakfast eater.
Okay.
I don't,
and that's fine.
Yeah, and I've had so many people like, you have to eat breakfast. I'm like, I just am not hungry in the morning.
Yeah, the research is really back and forth on breakfast.
What I hear.
And breakfast was invented by the Kellogg family way back years ago.
Good for them. That's some marketing.
To sell cornflakes and stuff like that. I mean, it's not that people didn't eat breakfast, but when people stopped going out to farm at 5 in the morning and then coming in to eat a huge meal, they were trying to sell breakfast food to city dwellers, and
interesting,
and realized that they needed to sort of invent this need.
Oh, well, see, and I think there's so many rules like that like you need to eat breakfast and you need to eat like a king in the morning, and I just have never. I'm not a big breakfast food eater. I'd rather have an omelet for lunch, honestly, than for breakfast. So I skip it. And I mean, what are those other supposed to diet rules that really shouldn't be there?
Oh, well, I mean, there's so many of them. And for years it was no fat, but carbs were okay.
Yes.
And now
carbs
it's the opposite. Carbs, but
Satan. Yes.
Yeah, but people on low carb diets are actually regaining the weight just the way they have on other diets too. The information, the research is starting to roll in.
Right.
And almost if 20
Everything.
people go on a diet, 17 of them within 2 years will regain every pound.
That's a lot.
8 of them will regain more weight. And that's because diets actually make us crazy, and they can cause compulsive eating. That's what it did to me. And only 3 people will keep off at least 10 pounds for more than 2 years. And they're probably still dieting to do it.
So do you think with people it becomes almost, I don't want to say an obsession, but it's like a diet obsession. I mean, I've literally tried everything, and I feel like most of the things I've tried, I'm not necessarily looking for this is life-changing. I'm like, I need a quick fix right now so I can do this photo shoot, go to this event, be in this wedding, whatever. It's usually event-centered for me. And I don't know if that's the same with a lot of dieters, but I feel like most of the time I've tried to crash diet, if you will. It's leading up to something.
And the quick fix diets, those are the ones that are really going to get us in trouble, because we have to fight our body to do it.
Right.
You literally go into battle with your body, and it's going to fight back, and it fights back physically by changing your metabolism, and it fights back through your subconscious because it sends the cravings through, because it has to communicate with your brain somehow to tell you to eat.
All right. So how is this? How does intuition play into it?
That's really about learning to listen to your body's internal signals.
Okay.
And so sometimes the real name is interoceptive awareness, and that's listening to all the different ways your body communicates to you. And so intuitive is just kind of a short
it's easier
for
to
that.
say
People
too.
can kind of get that. But it's not woo-woo at all. It's actually being totally physical. I mean, and being in touch the way we are when we're little with our bodies. When we don't eat, kids don't overeat the way adults do. At least you look at a 2-year-old.
Yeah.
And over time, they'll eat a normal balanced diet over a week if they're given free choice and good food. It may look crazy.
They don't. Yeah, my
moment.
youngest, I'm force feeding her most of the time. I'm like, you need to eat something, because she just would go off and not be hungry.
But the trick is to try to teach kids to respect their bodies and listen to themselves. And if they don't want food, try not to force them.
Yeah, well, she's a little underweight, so we're trying to pack some pounds on her. I've offered to give her some of mine, but it doesn't work that way. So. All right. So for most of us, though, what does that mean? I know one of the things you and I've talked about before, and I'm guilty of, I know a lot of people listening are guilty of, is, I'll get done with, I work from home a lot. So I'll get done with a conference call and, I was like, oh, okay, I've got 20 minutes. Let me just go peek in the pantry.
Yeah.
And I may not be hungry.
Right.
But I'm just like, I got 20 minutes. Let me get up. Let me walk around and move or something. So I immediately go.
Yeah.
And so what's your pantry rule?
Well, it's to stop and think, take a deep breath and check in with your body and ask yourself, am I physically hungry? Am I really hungry? And if you're not, then ask yourself why I want food right now. Because often it'll be boredom or just the need for a change. Or maybe we're anxious, or maybe we're tired. Tired is a big one.
Yep.
And if it's tiredness, then you really have to eat, because there's no other way to get energy in your body. I guess you can,
so
you
the
can
tired's
do the
okay, but the stress,
whatever,
the boredom.
But for stress and boredom, you need to figure out a new way. But the trick is surfacing that. Yeah. Usually we just think we have this urge to eat, and that's all we're conscious of.
Right.
So you got to go below the surface a little bit and figure out, why do I want the food?
Okay.
And then try to deal with that directly, rather than using food to just cover it up.
So if it's boredom, which is it's not that I'm bored during the day, I got a lot to do, but I need a change. I need a break. I need a different dynamic.
Take a walk around the block. Go up and down the stairs once or twice. Do something.
That sounds a lot like exercise here,
Yeah,
Martha.
but it just gets your system going. So it's not about a workout. You know? And exercise is a good thing.
That scares me less. So.
I work with people on exercise, but it's all about doing something you enjoy.
Okay.
So it's not about, I actually use the treadmill in the mornings, but I read a book that's for fun.
Okay.
Because I look forward to my time on the treadmill that way. And and I'm not saying that's for everybody.
Right.
But it could be something completely different. But make it something you enjoy, because you'll do it.
And I've never thought about that, because I do. And I'll catch myself, because we've had this conversation before, and where I know that I'm at the pantry or at the fridge, and I stock mine with pretty healthy food, so I'm not making horrible choices, but I'm also not hungry, and I'm eating anyway. So it's reading. I like that idea. Yeah, I do enjoy reading, and we have a nice little punching bag out in our gym outside. I do like punching things too, so that could be a little. Yeah. Quick cardio punch or kick round might be pretty fun.
Or if you're sitting there at the computer, take a little dance break, put on your favorite music, and just move a little bit.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, and that raises your mood too.
Yeah, it would be entertaining for anybody else that's nearby. I don't recommend that in the middle of Starbucks.
No.
That may be a little bit interesting. So, all right, well, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to dive a little bit more into this mindfulness around eating and what we can do. So we'll be back in just a minute. Hey everyone, it's Kristen. Be sure and visit my website at www.andregroup.com. That's www.andree group.com. And while you're there, be sure to download my white paper, Top 10 Reasons Your Business Isn't Growing Fast Enough. Now get out there and create your no limits moment. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to No Limits with Kristen Andre. We are here with Martha McGinnis, who is an eating coach. And before the break, we're having a cool conversation about kind of why we eat and what the triggers are, whether it's stress or that. But I want to dive into something that I feel like, this is definitely an issue for me and a lot of my girlfriends. I know a lot of people listening. It's kind of this image and perception around what's right, what we should look like, what's ideal, what's perfect. And obviously the magazines portray that, the Kardashians portray that. I mean, it's just all over wherever you look. We should look like this. And I think, it's crushing us from a society standpoint. We make really bad decisions in the strive for perfection. So what, as a coach, how do you deal with that?
Well, we're so hard on ourselves.
We are.
I mean, 97% of women will have a negative thought about their bodies every day.
And just one?
No, that's everybody.
One a minute,
a
probably.
lot of people, it's constant. It's constantly in the back of our minds.
Sure.
And that's so disempowering when you think about it. It steals our confidence.
Yep.
And it steals our power in the world. And so one of my big deals is to getting people back into their bodies so they're comfortable within themselves and comfortable in their own skin.
So what does that start with? Because, for me, I have, I feel confident business-wise. I feel confident, all that. But I feel like that's what it goes back to for me is the way I'll get up and talk in front of people and everything. You guys that listen for a while know I hate the camera. It's just a tough one for a lot of people. And I don't know where it comes from. I think it comes from striving for perfection.
Yeah. And almost everybody has an ideal weight in the back of their mind.
I have it. And my driver's license, it says it on my driver's license.
Okay. And think about it. When you think about that ideal weight, does it make you feel happy or do you feel kind of frustrated?
I feel frustrated because here I actually have my bucket list. One of my bucket list items is to weigh what my driver's license says I weigh.
Okay.
Now, they haven't changed my weight since I was 16. So they just never ask. And occasionally they kind of look at me like, do we need to update any info? I'm like, no, I'm good. Totally fine. Yep. But it's frustrating. I know I get pulled over and they're going,
when we set goals, they should be positive and inspiring to us. They should not make us feel miserable or stressed. Yep. And so many people literally make themselves miserable about the ideal weight thing. They could be 5 pounds off and they can look great, but they're all in agony in their heads because they're not at their ideal weight. And so I try to get people to start relaxing about that and just sort of appreciating the body they have and thinking about what's a happy weight, a weight where you can be comfortable, a weight where you can have a glass of wine if you want or your favorite food, and where life is good. And that's a completely different place. And often we don't know in advance where it is. It's people will lose some weight and they'll get to a point, what, I don't think I need to lose anymore. I think I'm happy right here. And losing weight might mean having to cut out something else. And they don't want to. And that's okay.
And that makes sense because, I kind of joke. I'm like, I'm not cutting out. I was talking with a nutritionist and I was like, okay, here's my non-negotiables. I'm not cutting out, wine. I do like to eat healthy, but I also don't want to have to skip a nice dinner out with friends if that comes up. So those are for me non-negotiables. But there is in the back of, I think, most of our head, this image.
Yeah.
Where is that coming from?
Oh, it's coming from outside of us. At some point, because little girls are supposed to be pretty and beautiful. You have to say, if you see a baby girl, you can say lots of things, but you have to say she's beautiful.
Yeah.
Or the parent will think there's something wrong.
Right.
And it's this expectation that girls are going to meet some standard, and it's perfectly okay to judge them on that standard. And we judge ourselves, and we judge other people. And
we do. It's terrible. Like as much as I like to think I'm not judgmental, and it's typically the people we don't know that we're judging too. Same thing with the thin ones,
or
with the standard of beauty.
At all moments, Yeah. So the thing is, instead of when you notice judgment, go to curiosity instead. Curiosity and compassion. because this is another human being, or you're a human being, and have compassion for yourself. And that's almost harder.
That's where I think it's hard. Like I can have compassion for other people, you know, and I have friends that may be a larger size than I am that are trying to help, and I will encourage them and I will tell them they look beautiful and, you know, whatever they want to look like or show up as, I'm always complimenting.
Yeah, but we don't.
But I don't do it to myself. Yeah. But I think this happens for guys too, because I have a couple guy friends that are, honestly, I have one in particular I'm thinking of that is more weight and appearance size-wise conscious than any female I have ever met in my entire life.
Yeah, men have it too. Yeah. I think women are more willing to talk about it. And women
he'll talk about it with other. Well, he will. He's almost girly when he talks about it, because and he is judgmental, very judgmental. It's for him in particular, and I get on him about this, but it's become a standard of, if you can't, you have to be fit. You know, it's very about fitness, and you know, there's something wrong if you're not. And I feel like that's where we are. If we don't look like this standard of beauty, there's something wrong.
Our society has gotten so obsessed with weight and fitness and all of that, and it's actually not making things better. You know, the people who are in shape are getting in better shape. But other people, it's actually driving overeating, I think, because it just adds to the guilt. And when you're guilty and you're eating, you're not going to be enjoying your food, so you're not satisfied. So you keep eating. Yeah. And you'll eat more. You'll eat 5 cookies, not 1, if you're feeling guilty about it.
You'll eat 5 bags of kale instead of the one allotted bag of kale. But when, you know, as a society and as a friend and a mom and a, you know, coworker, how can we shift that? What do we need to do to move that? Because I 1,000,000% agree with you, and it's frustrating that happens.
We have to start seeing it in ourselves and challenging those thoughts when we have them. Like, challenge the judgment. Is it true? You know, is this really the way things need to be? Yep. And I call them automatic negative thoughts a lot, ants. Okay. And the way to
I like
ants,
that.
Yeah, because they crawl around your brain. And figure out a neutralizing thought. So it might be I could look at and say, oh, my thighs are so heavy, but they've carried me through so much.
Yep.
They're strong and they've carried me. It doesn't have to be a positive thought, or like I don't have to love them.
Right.
But a neutralizing thought that will take the weight out, and I mean the pain out of it. And if you just practice that thought after the judgment comes up. So if you have a judgmental thought that's coming up all the time, find a neutral thought that will take the heat out of it, and practice that, just one. And over time, that thought's going to die away because it's not getting traction. You're taking the energy out of it, and don't build a whole story around it. Just keep it
I think we do.
Clean.
We build stories and we build negative things, and it's really about showing up, getting rid of the negative thoughts we have, and not, I hate to say not caring what other people are thinking, but there's a little bit of that.
There's a little bit of it, yeah.
You know, it's there's a social media person and blogger, you know, all over social and Instagram, Jenna Kutcher. I don't know if you've ever seen her. She's fantastic, and she heavier set, I guess you would say. She's described herself that way, and how she kind of got her start was she was started before them, but she had posted a picture of her husband, who is extremely fit, very workout. They're a beautiful couple. She is gorgeous, but she's not a 2.
Yeah.
And so she got a lot of public backlash, like, you know, why is he with you? And it just broke my heart reading these things. And she kind of came out and it's like, you know, he's happy with me, I'm happy with me, don't really care what the rest of you, in a very nice way, way nicer than I would have said it. But she's kind of become this internet star because she just stood up and said, this is me. And I'm, you know, and I'm healthy and just had a baby and, you know, I'm healthy. I just had a brand new baby. You know, it's really cool. Like, I love watching her story. But to do that and to go out there and put herself out there, that takes a big old chunk of confidence.
Yep. And not people don't have to do that, but they do have to start believing in themselves.
Well, that's what it is. Like, she's publicly believing in herself, but I feel like for the rest of us, we got to start somewhere.
Right. And the way to start is small internally, and it's starting with paying attention to your body and honoring it. Honoring it with your food choices, not in a judgmental way, but literally asking your body, what does it want to eat? And it may be you're craving protein, so that's what you're going to have, or it may be something else. But and you have to separate what you're the emotional and then the feeling cravings from the physical ones, and that takes some practice.
Okay.
And if you're honoring it with how much you're eating, like, ask yourself if you're hungry, and in the middle of the meal,
or
ask
if
yourself
you're full.
again,
Yeah.
how full am I? And at the end, am I full? How full am I now? Am I satisfied?
Okay.
And if you've overeaten, don't guilt yourself, but rather ask what went on. Why did I overeat?
Why did I keep eating?
Get curious. Curiosity instead of judgment. Because when we judge ourselves, we stop learning. And if you stay curious, that's when you can change.
And I feel like I agree with you. And what's interesting is, as you're saying that, I'm sitting here, my first thought that popped into my head, and I'm sure this is, common for a lot of people listening, is that, I'm a mom, I'm a single mom, I've got 3 girls. Eating for me, I barely have time to stop to eat.
Yeah.
So I definitely don't have time to stop to say, why am I eating? Am I full?
Yeah.
So, but it makes me think that eating is not eating for me. It's kind of just been this chore. I put no mindfulness around it whatsoever.
Right. And it doesn't take long, really. Once you start stopping, and it just takes a few seconds to take a deep breath and ask yourself, if you're hungry. And it might take a while in the beginning, but you get better and better at it. And eventually it becomes second nature. And you don't have to be so aware, but that does take a while. You have to practice for a while.
Okay.
But it's not about willpower. It's about paying attention.
And that paying attention is something we don't do for most areas of our life. If you really think about the areas of our lives that we struggle in, eating, finances, relationships, career, it's because we aren't paying attention and being intentional around them. Yeah. How about that? Oh, very cool. All right. So we're going to pause for a minute. Then when we come back, we're going to talk about how we can implement some of Martha's great ideas in our own lives and help ourselves. So we'll be right back in just a minute. Everyone, check out my podcast, No Limits with Kristen Andre, on Tuesday nights at 7:30. We will tackle the things holding you back and the limits you set on yourself and equip you with some strategies to lead more intentional lives. Podcast launches every Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. on Facebook.com/Andre Group. That's Facebook.com/ANDREE Group. We'll see you there. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to No Limits with Kristen Andre. We are wrapping up our time with Martha McGinnis. And, I tell you, this has not been painful talking about food and we won't say dieting, but mindful eating. I'm really enjoying this. But something you said stuck out to me. You were talking about the automatic negative thoughts.
Right.
And I feel like with weight, with appearance, that's just easy for us to go, oh, this looks bad, that looks bad.
Yeah.
So the acronym ANTS, I like. That was because I can picture these negative thoughts just kind of crawling.
Right.
So tell me more about that. Like where are they coming from? What do we do with them?
They come from everywhere. They're voices from our past, from family, from friends, the media. A lot of time it's a lot of people I've worked with have family issues that go back, and their dad would always call them fatty, or or a brother would pick on them, or something like that.
Okay.
And those voices stick with us, from our formative years. They don't go away, especially if we give them power. And actually listen to them. So,
and is it from past? Like, is it from people telling us things in the past that are stuck with it? Is it a comparison game, or
I think comparison is a big deal.
Okay.
And we start comparing ourselves or trying to fit
totally
in.
Do.
Especially in girls, it was starting earlier now. But it used to be 11 or 12, middle school, that kind of age was when the social scene really heated up.
Yeah.
But now girls are going on diets and cleanses at the age of 10, which is disastrous.
It's great because I know, and it's so bad because I have 3 daughters, and I know I've talked about dieting, eating. I've tried to shape it and talk about eating healthy and said that. But even my 9-year-old, who is a whopping like 54 pounds, I mean, she is itty bitty. You're just like, oh, I don't want to get fat. And I'm like, okay, well, first of all, let's try to get you up to normal weight. But they hear it. And she's in 4th grade and the kids are having those conversations, which I don't remember these conversations till probably middle school, high school.
Right. And the ideal weight the woman's average ideal weight is 13 pounds below her normal weight. So, I mean, it's just this misconception we have. And so we're always trying to hit a goal that we're not made to hit.
Yeah.
It's a fight.
It's because I always grew up like, all right, if you're a woman, it's 100 pounds for the first 5 feet and 5 pounds for, and I'm sitting there going, all right, if I'm, 5'6",
I've
5'7",
never been there.
I'm like, if I were 6'8", I would be perfect. No, but I don't know anyone, none of my girlfriends, even the fittest of my girlfriends they're not that weight.
Yeah. Yeah. But we get on ourselves because we're not.
And that's where those ants start crawling.
Exactly. Okay. So what I suggest is that if people literally write down, start noticing these thoughts and write them down, the ones that happen all the time.
So exactly what we're thinking.
Exactly what you're thinking. It's I'm always this, or I'm never this, or if I could only this, the negative stuff.
Okay.
And then and then underneath it, write down a neutralizing thought. Just something that takes the heat out of it. Just one, because research shows if you have more than one, then you've got to make a choice in the moment.
Yeah.
And we don't make choices when we're in those moments. It's got to follow automatically. So actually practice it. Say the thought and then practice the neutralizing thought. And if over time it will start to come to you when you have those thoughts.
So kind of the example you gave of my thighs are too big, but they're strong and they've
carried me through so much. It just rolls right off.
Okay.
And over time, then you'll stop having that negative thought because it's no longer being fed or getting traction. And so and thoughts will just sort of fade away over time.
That's excellent.
So you just deal with those things, get them out.
And
of
that could relate to the ants. Could relate to anything, not just
absolutely.
Around eating or mindfulness with eating. It could relate to business, to any of the areas, relationships. Yeah. Okay. So, I like that idea. Good. I like it a lot.
So for the next week, write them down and practice them.
All right.
And practice the neutralizing thought, and we call that the antidote.
I like it. The ants and the antidote. So. All right. So we have a group on Facebook. It's at #NoLimitsMoment where we have all our listeners go and check in. I think this is a great challenge. We issue a challenge each week in each episode. So I love that, just to go and write down your ants, those thoughts. Write them down so they happen, I'm guessing?
Yeah, just notice them and then write them whenever you can.
When you can, write them down. I'm a journal person, so I like to keep like a little journal, little notebooks. I think that'd be a great idea. But then follow it up with the antidote. Okay.
And then practice it a few times so that in that moment, when it comes up the next time, you'll have it right at the tip of your tongue.
So we're going to post this in the notes once we air this episode on Facebook, because it's like, I think it's cool. I'd love to hear what negative thoughts people are having. You don't have to air all your dirty laundry, but let us know kind of what happened what you replaced that thought with. So maybe tell us the good thought that's out there.
There you go.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. Now, Martha, you guys I know are taking all this in and going, okay, this is a lot of stuff. I love this. Your website is appetiteclarity.com, and you've got a cool quiz on there too.
Yeah, and it'll help people assess the level of emotion in their eating. So are they normal eaters, or there's a whole scale of emotionality and stuff around that.
Around whether or not how they're eating.
Yeah, and they may find the questions kind of interesting. So
I'm excited to take it. I'm gonna be off the charts emotionally, I guess. I don't know. We're gonna predict it. So yeah, definitely, guys, visit appetiteclarity.com. Check out Martha's work. Take the quiz and kind of jump on Facebook at #NoLimitsMoment and let us know what you found out. But Martha, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
This was fun. I'm excited. Ready to get those ants out of the way. So, all right, guys, have a great week, and until next time, keep pushing past those limits.